Hello, my name is Robert Linder and I am the president of Emerald Marine Products. We've been manufacturing life-saving devices for the maritime industry for 20 years, and I'm glad to give this presentation today about fall overboard situations. And I'm using the term fall overboard in a general sense. I'm really speaking of people who are working on, near, over water, and they fall in the water when they're not supposed to be there. The number one reason for marine fatality is not wearing a personal flotation device, or PFD. The number two reason for marine fatality is that no one knew that that person fell into the water, so they were unable to launch the rescue to actually help save that person. Generally, depending on the water temperature, within 5 to 10 minutes, a person will succumb to hypothermia and you will have a fatality situation on your hands. What are the reasons for a fall overboard? The number one reason is fatigue. There have been studies saying that if you don't get 8 hours of good sleep, that you have the visual impairment of the same of drinking 2 alcohol drinks. My concern is when people work the 12-hour shift, the 12 on, 12 off, that in the 12 hours off, they're probably not getting the 8 hours of sleep that they need. And as these shifts, become consecutive shifts, you will start having more effect of fatigue. Another reason is loss of balance. And many times people assume something that they're holding on to, or that they're balancing themselves a certain way. That what they're holding on to is solid, that it will stay connected. And things do break, things do pull off, and you do lose balance. Rogue waves is also an indication sometimes of losing balance. There was a tragic story of people who died because a rogue wave hit a whale watching vessel and it capsized that vessel. Something that was totally unpredictable. Tripping on lines. I know most companies have policies in place to make sure that lines and other pieces of equipment are put in their proper place, but we are human, and sometimes people do get caught up in lines, or they trip over something that really shouldn't be there. And finally, dehydration is a growing concern. This past summer in North America, we were seeing record-breaking temperatures, consecutive days well in 100-degree plus temperature. It's very important that employees remain hydrated not only while they're working, but also when they're not working, because dehydration is something that you need to keep your body hydrated constantly, especially in such hot temperatures. What is the cost of a fall overboard fatality? Well, generally you're looking at $1 to $2 million is a financial cost because of settlement costs, but it's also the loss of income to the dependent families. People who work in the maritime industry tend to be very well paid employees, and those families are very dependent on that income. So when that income is no longer coming in, needless to say, it's going to affect that family for many years to come, if not even a full generation. Even in non-fatality situations, there is a monetary cost, $100,000 to upwards $300,000 in lost productivity, in medical and settlement costs. It also has an impact to the company's safety culture. Most companies, of course, want to say safety is job number one, but when a fall overboard incident occurs, people are going to start questioning, what is our culture, what is our policy, how effective was it? We have actually had instances where employees were the people who brought our products to the attention of management. They used them at other companies, they saw them, and they felt much more comfortable, much more confident in doing their work, knowing that they had our safety products on them. So let's talk a little bit about the solutions for fall overboard situations. The number one thing, again, is personal flotation devices. We want to make sure that the person, when they fall in the water, floats. And U.S. Coast Guard approved flotation devices. We have images of them. To your left is the Type 1 offshore life jacket. Number 2 is the Type 2, which is really commonly used in a lot of work environments, and Type 3, a flotation aid. What has been a great advancement in recent years is the inflatable PFD. So essentially you can get a Type 1, 2, or 3, but as an inflatable unit. And how that works is they are hydrostatically controlled, so upon immersion a CO2 gas would be released and it would inflate the inside yoke of the unit. And they are easier to wear. People feel more comfortable wearing them. They're not used in a lot of work situations, but again, these things change depending on your different environments. So there's no excuse for not wearing a PFD. There's plenty of different styles out there that can be very effective to get the work done and to help save your life. So we have a person floating, but how do we know that they fell in the water? I'm going to go into more detail in a couple slides here, but I just wanted to say there's essentially 3 types of fall overboard notifications. There's AIS, local transmission, and proximity alarms. AIS stands for Automatic Identification System. It operates in the VHF Marine Band. AIS was developed for ships and vessels to identify themselves, so that on chart plotters you could see where the other ships were. It would aid in awareness and communication between the vessels. So an AIS identifier will work essentially the same way. It will identify that person in the water as a number, and it can then help have other people aid in that rescue because they will be able to see them. Some of the personal AIS systems that are out there are Ocean Signal and Moby One, and there's a few other companies out there too. Local transmission, it's a proprietary transmission. Because it's proprietary, it can work automatically. And this is an example of our product, the Alert 418. There's another company called Orca that has a local transmission device, and they can essentially set off an alarm within seconds as opposed to having to be manually activated. And then finally there's proximity alarms, and proximity alarms essentially work the opposite of local transmission alarms. They're always transmitting, and as that transmission is broken, as a certain proximity is passed, the transmission is broken, and that is what sounds the alarm. This is primarily used in recreational vessels. Your inland lake type of boaters could very easily use this product. If you're fishing by yourself, you could have this on, and if you fall in the water, you could wire it for engine kill, and then you have the option or the ability to hopefully swim back to your boat. Ray Marine Life Tag, Moby Alert, Auto Tether are just some examples of proximity alarms. We do have a proprietary hybrid solution. We have partnered with a company called Precise Technology, which utilizes their in-palm technology. It is an extended alert notification. It's an enterprise-wide system, so when the receiver goes off, an alert is sent. It can be sent via text messaging and emails and through the whole corporate network. This is combined with their GPS cards that are on the employees, so you're getting that very quick notification, and then you also have GPS tracking of that employee. So we have a person floating. They have been alerted that someone is in the water. What do we do now? Well, the first thing is to say, do your employees know what to do in a fall overboard incident? We don't have time today in today's presentation to go into the real procedures, but your company should have a man-overboard incident training. It should be a policy. It should be something that should be documented and should be practiced on a frequent basis. Your rescue operations are going to be somewhat dependent on the situation. If you're a vessel, the chance of rescuing the person is probably going to come from the boat that they just fell off of. Now, in some instances where there is a lot of high traffic, vessel traffic, there is a good chance that another vessel could actually be able to rescue that person. If you're stationary, if you are a marine terminal, or if you are a marine construction site, you're stationary. So, what are your options? Are you able to launch a rescue skiff? Or are you dependent on other agencies, the Coast Guard or the fire department, to aid in that rescue? Know who those agencies are. Know how to communicate the situation so that the agency, when you call them, know who to launch to aid in that rescue. There's been instances where people call 911 and the police department shows up and they're not equipped to go into the water and help rescue. Those are precious minutes that are lost because of that. So know what agencies you would engage and how you would communicate the situation to. So we now know that the alert has occurred. We have a visual of that person because we were able to see them quick enough. How do we retrieve them? How do we get them back onto the boat or onto shore? We have three different images here. The one on the left is the life ring. This is the most common. It's been around for 100+ years. It works. It's effective. Life rings are heavy. They generally are about 10 pounds or heavier, and so make sure you when you throw that, you don't hit the person, because you could cause maybe more damage than they are feeling at that time. The image in the middle is a life sling. This is a foam sling. It's lighter, so it's not going to hurt the person if you hit them in the head with it, but it is lighter, so it is going to be harder to throw a further distance. So this is really effective if you can get close to that person. And in this instance, where you're seeing this person is probably incapacitated, muscle mass is starting to muscle strength is starting to give out, that's very effective in being able to get that over the person and then able to pull them out of the water. And then this image on the right is a rescue disc, which is a kind of a neat little invention. It's about 100 feet of line that's wrapped around the disc, and you hold on to the one end of the line and you throw the disc like a frisbee. And depending on how good of a frisbee thrower you are, you can get this out quite a distance, and the person can wrap this around them, or they can hold on to this, and you can bring them into the boat or the area where you can get them out of the water. Again, this is assuming that they have the muscle strength at this time to hold onto the disc to get themselves pulled in. We have partnered with another company called Sea Hero. Sea Hero was founded by a tugboat captain who was always concerned about how do you get someone out of the water. And so they developed two products, the reach pole and the lifting davit. To your left is a picture of the lifting davit being assembled on a tugboat, and it literally takes about a minute to connect that to the bit that's on the boat and to get that functioning. The middle picture is the reach pole. It's about I think a 10 or 12 foot pole, and you can essentially fish this around the person, and then you pull the tab, and that cinches that cord around the person. The pole falls away, but then that cord essentially helps hold them up. That strap holds them up into the lifting davit. And there you can see on the right a picture of our Oscar water rescue training dummy being lifted by the strap and the lifting davit. The Oscar water rescue training dummy is 35 pounds dry weight, but you can fill those those different containers with water, and then it becomes a 6-foot, 180-pound victim. So you can get some more realistic training situations with that type of rescue mannequin. So fall overboards are not preventable. People are human. We're going to make mistakes. Nature, plays a role in this. Sometimes fall overboards don't really occur in the eye of the storm. They occur on sunny days. They occur when inactivity happens, and you just can't always prevent a fall overboard. But what you can prevent is a fall overboard fatality. And listening today, what we talked about, wearing PFDs, having some kind of alerting system, having a policy on how to manage fall overboards, to most importantly, practice that policy, to practice retrieval, to know how it's going to work so that when the unthinkable happens, and it does occur, that you have people instinctively acting, and lives can be saved within minutes. So I thank you very much for watching today's presentation. I encourage you to give us feedback or any questions that you might have. You can email us at info@emeraldmarineproducts.com, or you can telephone us at 206-965-8207. Thank you very much for your time.